It's very difficult, actually, to talk after that video. It's just so touching. And not in a sad way, because I miss Swamiji's physical presence. It's more just in this path is more fulfilling than anything I can ever imagine, ever, short of being dead and being in bliss with God, really. And many of us have devoted our lives to this path and feel that it is our oxygen. That if I did not have this path, I don't know what I would be doing. I really, before I came to this path, I was an engineer, just basically feeling my soul was dying. Now, it wasn't because I was an engineer. It was just because I didn't have that spirituality aspect that I needed so desperately. And yesterday in Pune, we gave a class in the afternoon, and I was talking about how for the first months I was at Ananda, all I did was weep during the Sunday satsangs because I just needed, I guess, my heart to purify itself as I cried, but I was so relieved to finally find the path that could take me to God. You know, I didn't even know what that meant. You know, being in America, the language isn't there, the culture isn't there. It's got that, the Christian base does have ultimately this union with God, but it's not understood by most. And Yoganandaji expressed all of that on such a profound level. And I am just so grateful for Swamiji. And you know what I like. One thing I'd like to express is when I came on the path, Yoganandaji was gone. And we've said this before, but I really want it to be felt deeply by you. I can't make you feel it, but to understand that, you know, we all have different karmas, and they're all good. So even though you don't get to grow up with Swamiji now spiritually, he's ever present, just like Yoganandaji was ever present and still is. Now Swamiji is ever present more so. And we will all create new memories together and have new experiences together. You know, we've got Nayaswami Jaya as the spiritual successor. Over the years, you'll get to know him. You'll have your experiences with him. You'll have, and not only that, Swamiji was like a tree that grew many, many leaves. I mean, we had Nayaswami Jaya and Sadhana Devi last week. They're saints, truly. I mean, they meditate so deeply. They get it. And so their experience with Swamiji is there. So many of the acharyas on this path, we were all trained by Swamiji. And, you know, it's interesting. Swamiji never ruled with an iron fist. And you'll find very few acharyas at Ananda who will rule with an iron fist. Yoganandaji set the tone for this. He said that too many rules spoil the spirit. And he said that to Swamiji when he established the monastery. It would be very easy to set a lot of rules for a monastery, wouldn't it? You know, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that, do this then, do this now, you know, and everyone could mindlessly become the proper little monk, and, you know, and as long as you know the rules, you feel safe, right? And therefore, if I know the rules and if I follow the rules, then I'll never get in trouble, and then everyone else will behave too. And then I'll be able to say, you're not following the rules. And then, you know, it's a way to feel safe on this earth, to have a lot of rules. But Yoganandaji did not want his organization, nor through the legacy of Swamiji, this organization, to be ruled that way, to be led that way. And instead, Yoganandaji talked over and over again about attunement with the Guru. That means we use our sense of intuition to tune into right behavior and right attitude. When everyone is inwardly ruled by right behavior and right attitude, then things work. And you'll notice then everybody gets on a common plane of vibration together. It's much more fun that way, I'll have to say. Now, every once in a while someone comes in whose vibration never works in there. And they self-select out. They usually come into Ananda wishing things were different than they are, and being critical and saying negative things to everybody. And over time, the leaders are very aware of it. And the other devotees usually kind of, tiptoe around that person. And then that person either changes their vibration and tune into the Guru and get that positive swing again, or they can't adapt and they go and find their next step in their spiritual path. Notice I didn't say, and then the leader has a talk with them and tells them how negative they are and has this, what's going on with you and why don't you change your attitude, all that kind of stuff. That doesn't happen. And Swamiji very rarely led that way. Every once in a while there was a tough nut that he might talk to, but never in a damning way. It was more in a trying to help that person. What's wrong? Why do you have such a negative downturn inside of you? Why do you feel the need to spread negativity to others? That's how he would lead in that way. But most of all, and like it said, he led with people are more important than things. What does that mean? It means if there's a job to be done at Ananda, you don't pick the person who has the highest skill that fits that job. You fit the person who can have the spiritual growth by being in that job. That's how Swamiji did it. Tushti and Surendra were also giving a class yesterday. And they were asked at one point, where were they living before they came to Palo Alto? Seattle. They were living at Ananda, Seattle. And they were in need of some bookstore managers in Palo Alto for the Ananda bookstore there. And they had run businesses and done stuff like that, but they never knew how to manage a book business. But people tuned in. In this case, I think Nayaswami's David and Asha had heard about them and I'm sure discussed it with Swamiji. And then they were asked, can you come down and manage the bookstore? They said, but we've never done this before. And then they were, I think David or Asha said something to them like, look, the customers are going to help you learn. You already have a kind of a sense of business, but there's some training that can happen for you. But most of all, it just feels right for you to be there. Both of them are very loving people, and they made a great success of that store. And so people are put in for karmic reasons. How do you need to grow most? I went from engineering to unpacking books at a bookstore. I was not using any technical skills. I was not using the skills I had originally when I came to Ananda. I was developing new skills. And it wasn't that I had to have my head chopped off for humility, because I really at that time was so glad to just be in a spiritual environment doing anything. I didn't care. When I asked if I could move into the community, they said, well, we don't know if we have any openings. I said, you know what? Even if I can just sleep in a closet, I don't care. I'll sleep in someone's spare room. I don't care. I just really want to be in the community. Now, I wasn't like, I have to be and make me a space or anything like that, but just, I had I know this is where I belong. And so something opened up just at the last minute. So that is tuning in to the path. Very often people think devoting their life to God has to have an outer form. Meaning it has to mean, now I have a job at Ananda, now I'm a teacher, or now I'm a monk, or now I'm a this, now I'm a that. That makes me dedicated to God because of my outer job. But that's not the first step. The first step is getting into the flow. Devoting ourselves to God means listening deep inside ourselves and following that voice. And not having attachment to the outcome. And that voice opens up doors when we follow it. You know, when I was an engineer, I suddenly got this intuition, I really like people a lot. And as an engineer, I just feel like I'm not really doing a lot of people stuff, and I'm not really caring as much about making circuits smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I was designing chips and things like that, and the technology was just getting so intense, and it held my interest. I guess I need a little fan. It held my interest for a while, but then I thought, I need to switch. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll go into marketing. So I went and talked to the marketing director, and I thought, well, at least then I would be talking. Then I, for a little while, they had all the engineers go up to marketing and help answer the phones, just to talk to people and help them with that. And actually, a very amazing project came out of that, where this guy called and said, at that point I was designing accelerometers and rate sensors that went on airplanes and space modules and unfortunately missiles, but luckily I never worked on that. But it was aerospace stuff. And so this guy said, I really want to use an accelerometer and a rate sensor to create this underwater submarine that is going to save dolphins. And I mean, for me, like when I was a little kid, I loved dolphins, and I was like, wow, like a real nice application for this. So a group of us got together. That was our project, was to save dolphins. I was so happy that I was not saving missiles that were going. And so that happened, which opened me up even more. And then I was really thinking, okay, God, help me, express myself better in a job that is going to be more people-oriented. And like I said, so then I happened to talk to our teacher at the time, David Praver, in Palo Alto, and I said, can I talk to you and just get a little advice on my next step? I just feel like engineering has been this way, and I think it's time for a change, and maybe marketing, can you help me kind of let me bounce it off of you? And he said, sure. So I meet with him, and he completely surprises me and says, why don't you work at our bookstore? I was just like, what? I mean, it didn't even enter my mind. But what I was doing was I was trying to tune into what God wanted. I was trying to tune in, and I felt my heart wanting to devote it more to people, and helping. And I found my heart wanting to become more expansive. And so I was pursuing that. I was feeling God behind that. I was praying about it. And then the job opened up. I didn't demand it, hey, walking into East West Bookstore, hey, I'd like to work here. How do I apply? I didn't, it wasn't something like that. It opened up because I had tuned in with God in that way. And then it opened up. That is being in the flow of God in this way. And this is what we can all do. You know, when Swamiji shifted his energy when he was waiting for Master, and Master read his mind and felt, okay, now you're ready. That is what God does with us. Every time we have a shift, every time. You know, I feel when I shifted and said, okay, people, then God said, yes. See, the opportunities follow the mind shift, especially on the spiritual path. It's not, okay, I have 5 goals. Goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. How do I go about my goals? Okay, I'm going to have a statistical program here, and I'm going to know now that, there's 50% that I might do number 1, there's 30% number 2. Let's see how it goes. If I, figure it all out with my mind and decide how to approach, then I'm guaranteed to have between choice 1 and 4, this is how we want to do it. We want to control. But surrender in God requires letting go of some of that control. The ego is the only thing that wants control. It's the only thing. And we know sooner or later Mr. Ego is going to soften and let Mr. Soul take over. So, we work with ourselves over time. We can't just slash the ego off. But over time, that ego softens through meditation anyway. Then we suddenly kind of, whoa, a little less control. Is it going to work out? Oh. Then something works out. Or, what's going to happen? And then bad karma comes. And then we go, I knew it. I do need to have control. I knew if I let go of control, bad karma was going to happen. Now I got to have control. But it doesn't work that way. Bad karma will come anyway. Good karma will come anyway. We learn to ride the ups and the downs. And so Swamiji taught us this. Many people think Ananda is about a compilation of opinions that formed what we are. And it's not that way. Ananda is not a group of opinions deciding what Ananda is. Swamiji had very clear ideas about what Ananda is. He infused it with all of us. We bring it. Those who feel in alignment with it stay, go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then, you can see it already. There is so much joy in this center. There is so much joy. 10 or 11 people are over in Pune now just having a blast. But it's kind of like they've got this great Chennai joy within, They just are bright and sparkly. And all of you couldn't go, that's okay. And they'll come back next week, and a core is building. But it's a core of attunement. It's a core of commonality. Now, it's not a club where some are in and some are out. There is space for diversity. And there is space for everyone to be where they are in their level of development. This is not people have to be a certain way, otherwise they're shunned. It's not that either. This is all what Swamiji taught. This is not my opinion about how Ananda should be or how this center should even be. The decisions we make here are based on wanting to keep the karma of this center positive. The decisions we make here are based on wanting to be in attunement with Master and what Swamiji wants. And we have our teachers. We talk to Jaya, we talk to Jyotish Devi, we talk to Nayaswami Dhyana, we get advice. we've led a few centers, but they've got, 15, 20 more years experience than we do. Why not? One great thing that Jaya said about discipleship yesterday, he gave a beautiful class. As soon as we get that up on the video, we'll send the link out, because, boy, the class they gave just really was amazing. He just covered every possible topic. But he said one core thing about a disciple, because he said he sees an attitude of the opposite, is true discipleship is about wanting help. Not coming knowing it all, but wanting help. If we're a disciple, we've come because we want help. We want that help. We didn't come because now I'm a disciple and now I know Kriya Yoga and that kind of stuff. It's like, good God, please help me. I want to get to God and I need help. Help me, And so with that attitude, we ask others for help. I was helped so much in Palo Alto, and then I was helped so much at the village, and then helped so much in India, and then helped so much in LA, and then helped again in the village, and then helped again in India again. Helped out of delusion. Do we want to hold on to our delusions? No, we need help so we can get out of delusion. That's what these teachings are here for, help. And that's what that attunement is here for. Because that attunement that Yoganandaji gave is in alignment with the vibration of Om. And it's that true vibration of Om that takes us directly to God. That is the role of the Guru. To be that Om that takes us to God. And Swamiji was in alignment with Yoganandaji and became a channel, a pure channel. And at the end of his life, he said, I don't know where Kriyananda ends and Yogananda begins anymore. And you just felt Master purely resonating through him. And the only reason why you knew it on some level was because when you come on the path, you try and tune into Master, and you feel that vibration, and then you meet Swamiji, and it's like, feels the same. So it's a beautiful thing that the guru-discipleship relationship has. And then every disciple after Swamiji tries to attune to Master through Swamiji, and suddenly he's the tree with all these leaves of saints and saints to be, So he was a true genius as well. Jaya was saying this also. You'll see this in his talk. He was a genius. And I've never known anyone like him. I've never known anyone who is such a genius. And in a way, my heart gets a little sad in that I don't see anyone who's a full genius like Swami was. But no one is supposed to replace the footprint of Swami. They're going to become their own footprint. And all of us are beginning to become our own saintly footprints, expressing exactly what our soul needs to express. There's no competition between anyone else. We'll just become the perfect us. And I would say, maybe all the Nayaswamis together equal Swami's genius. It's hard to know. Nayaswami Jyotish has his own kind of genius. He has that ability to completely tune in to Swamiji, and you'll all get to know him as the new Dharmacharya, even more so. Swamiji had so many years and so much creativity that was expressed that created this legacy of Ananda. And Jyotish is the new chapter, So we'll have everything Swamiji gave, and then everything Jyotish has given also, plus all the other acharyas. But really, Swami gave his mantle to Jyotish. And he told us all of that will that Devi read. Swamiji wrote that early on. Was it before he went to Italy? Yeah, so it was in the 90s that he wrote that. And we all knew, okay, Jyotish is going to be the spiritual successor. We knew that in the 90s. And we knew who was going to get his bangles and things like that. And so, Swamiji went through different cycles as well. When I came in, he was in a big book writing and music writing time, which was perfect for me because I love reading, I love books, and also his music. And not just I love books, I loved his books, And it was so exciting because when he was writing a new book, he would send out the chapters and you would read it one chapter at a time. And then finally, the book would be published and everyone would get the book and there'd be a book signing, that kind of thing. And then with the music, I was involved in the musicians that were deeply dedicated to his music. And so again, he would send out a new piece of music and we would try it and kind of go into bliss. I wanted to play Chant of the Angels, which it was called Chant of the Angels when he wrote it. Then he changed it to Life Mantra. Then he changed it back to Chant of the Angels. And when that song came out, he woke up or something. The song was playing in his mind, all 4 parts of it and everything. And then he put it on paper and had us sing it. And it was astounding to sing it for the first time. And our singing group that I was involved in, one of them, we would sing it, and afterwards literally hear angels singing it, reverberating. And I would wake up in the morning and hear it sounded like angels. God is life. And then Swamiji said that he felt like angels had given him that song. I mean, if you imagine being in the astral world and they talk about the different realms of music and things in the astral world, imagine just when you arrive hearing God is life, God is joy, life is God, life is joy. I mean, it's just an amazing song. And he did this with all of his songs. We had a very exciting oratorio one year. The oratorio progressed over the years. It used to be a song and then a reading, and then a song and a reading. And he converted the readings into what are called recitatives in the Western world, which is kind of a narrative to song. And he wrote the oratorio while visiting the Holy Lands where Jesus visited in Israel. And he would, and also England, he was there. It was, France. Chartres Cathedral is in France. So he would meditate in a spot and get a song. Meditate in another spot and a song would come. And so he turned it into a large body of work that describes the life of Christ from birth to death. And so then, when he was writing the recitatives, we were about to have an oratorio, and all the choir people, maybe 50 people, all met in one place. This was in Palo Alto. And we were singing the songs that were in between the narrative and practicing all of those. And I used to play my flute on all those songs. Also, he had special instrumental flutes. And then a new recitative would come. And there were a few who were doing solo work at the time, and they would sing that song. And everyone was just like, wow, everyone would have to meditate after each song he wrote because it was so deep. And so we had that one oratorio where it had maybe 10 pieces of new music. And it was such a creative time. And, I'm not telling these stories for sentimental purposes. It's more to illustrate what life on the spiritual path can be.